Year by year, Jesper Bratt continues to improve. Is he the best player in the NHL like some people on social media are talking about? I wouldn't go that far, but he definitely impressed me this season. We have a lot to break down on today's episode of Locked On Devils. You will also hear from Jesper Bratt himself. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils Writer Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the best player in the NHL. No, we're not talking about Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov, Nathan McKinnon. We're talking about someone way better, Jesper Bratt. For any of you who don't know, that's just an inside joke on social media, so don't come after me. On a more serious note, what's on the agenda for today's episode? In the first segment, we'll look back at his 2024-2025 season from a statistical standpoint. Then in the second segment, we will look at his year-by-year numbers and also talk about his recent shoulder surgery. Seems like everybody on the Devils roster is getting some sort of surgery, particularly with their shoulder. That's a little, I wouldn't say concerning, but it's interesting. Then in the third and final segment, we'll look at Jesper Bratt's playoff impact because that seems to be the one gripe that a lot of people have when it comes to Jesper. He's a good performer in the regular season, but people say that he takes a bit of a step backwards come the playoffs. There's some truth to it, but I think people have the wrong mindset. That's just my personal opinion. We'll talk more about that to close out today's episode and throughout the course of today's show, I will play sound bites from Jesper Bratt's exit interview. Full disclaimer, and I will say this anytime I'm playing sound bites from exit interviews, you will hear buzzing in the background. It's just because exit interviews were, for some odd reason, conducted at the practice rink and the lights made noise. So that's what you will hear. I did my best to edit out the background noise, but unfortunately, it's what I had to deal with. All right. Looking at Jesper Bratt's 2024-2025 season, games played, 81. The one game that Jesper did not appear in was the final game of the regular season. Sheldon Keefe elected to give him a resting day. Unlike Dawson Mercer, I don't think Jesper cares all that much about an Ironman streak, but the one thing that Jesper has been doing the last few seasons is being available. Obviously, injuries are a funny thing, but we'll talk more about that later on in the episode. Goals, 21, 5th on the team. Assists, 67, 1st on the team. Not only that, he broke the single season assist record that was previously held by Scott Stevens. That's actually quite compelling if you ask me. Points, 88, 1st on the team. Year by year by year, Jesper's point total has been increasing. Power play assists, 30, 1st on the team. Second was Jack Hughes with 21. Hits, this is actually interesting, and I'll talk about this momentarily. 96, 10th on the team. Expected goals for rating, 55, 4th on the team. Offensive point share rating, 6.6, 1st on the team. Defensive point share rating, 2.4, 9th on the team. His point share rating was 9, 1st on the team by a good margin. He also played really good during the Four Nations tournament representing Team Sweden. He had a hit on Jack Hughes, and I remember talking to him about it. He said he had to give Jack just a little bit of a bump because your teammates / friends become rivals in a tournament of that magnitude. Speaking of Jack Hughes, Jack went down in early March. From March 5th to April 16th, which was the final game of the regular season, Jesper in 18 games had 18 points, 4 goals, 14 assists. I think it's safe to say that Jesper was relied heavily to produce points a lot more, especially since Jack went down with his injury, and he did so. Now, I had the chance to ask Jesper about his single season assist record during exit interviews. Then Daniel Moya asked about his physicality and also defense. Take a listen.
How did it feel breaking the single season assist record for this organization?
Yeah, now looking back to it, it was very, very cool. Something that I'm proud of. Broke it from a player that meant a lot for this organization, has had a lot of both personal but mostly team success. So obviously that meant a lot for me, and my dream is just to get to the point where I get some of the team success that he had as well. So, but personally, now looking back to it, it was a special moment.
So we're more physical this year. What was the importance of that to you?
I think the physical way was just ways of me of playing with the puck, and I think that some hits and contacts and stuff just allow me to win the puck back more. And if I didn't get the puck back, maybe one of my teammates got the puck back out of a hit or something like that. So I just tried everything I can to take my game with all the small percentages to the next level, and to allow me to play with the puck more.
Did that help you play better defense? Because you really upped your defense.
Yeah, probably. I do take a lot of pride in defense, and want to be a player that can put out in any situation on the ice. And so yeah, for me, being physical and ending plays in D-zone is something that we have talked about as a group consistently. So that's definitely something that I want to keep getting better at, to make sure we spend less time in D-zone.
Jesper had an all-star performance last season. This year, there was no all-star game, but he still represented his country well during Four Nations. A lot of people, when it comes to critiquing Jesper Bratt, they look at two things: his playoff performance and his physicality. I think it's safe to say that Jesper has improved defensively. Is he ever going to be in consideration for the Selke Trophy? No, but you can't deny, as he's improved and grown as a player, you start to see him in more defensive schemes, including the PK that started last year when Lindy Ruff was here. Jesper's role increased a little bit more, and you started to see the same thing with Jack Hughes. Jack was utilized in the PK this season, improving defensively. Jesper has steadily improved more and more as the years have progressed. And I'm glad that the Devils have him for the next few seasons. If his points continue to increase year by year, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Jesper to become the first Devils player to reach 100 points. He's a great facilitator. He's a great scorer. He plays a similar style like Jack. I think this year for Jesper, it was very impressive. And once again, he's very underrated. I wish more people talked about him, especially when Jack went down with his injury, because I talked about it on this show. The Devils are going to have to rely a lot on Jesper when it comes to producing points, and he did that. Still a point per game player in the final 18 games that Jack wasn't with the team. So from a physicality standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, he improved. His offense was always good. We knew that. Let's just see how he can grow more as a player, and he continues to do so. He's still relatively young. All right. Speaking of improvement, Jesper was asked about that during exit interviews. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop mismanaging your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now, I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Okay, in the previous segment, I talked about how Jesper has steadily improved, and he was asked about how he continues to grow his game during exit interviews. Take a listen.
Brett, for you on a personal level, you continue to grow career year here. Just what is allowing you to take another step every year?
I just want to be better every day. It's not real crazy secret or something. I wake up to try to be better, and now in the summer too. It's an important summer for me to improve my game even more and be ready to take on the challenges next year. I expect obviously even more for myself next year, and I always do.
When looking at Jesper's year-by-year impact in terms of points, let's go back to the 2021-2022 season. 76 game appearances, 73 points. Remember, that offseason in 2022, Jesper and the front office were kind of at odds when it came to an extension. It almost went to the arbitration hearing. Luckily, they worked something out. They gave Jesper a 1-year extension to prove that his 73-point campaign was not a fluke. And he came out and dominated once again. 2022-2023, 82 game appearances, 73 points. Historic season for the Devils, 50-plus wins. Then Jack challenged Jesper, saying, like, you can't just say you want to commit and not commit. You actually got to do it. Jesper lands an 8-year extension during the 2023 offseason. 2023-2024, 82 game appearances, 83 points. Then this past season, 81 games, 88 points. Like I said in the first segment, I think Jesper's biggest attribute is his availability, because when you look at players like Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, they've all missed time before due to injury, but that's never the case with Jesper. Not only that, we always talk about certain players going into slumps or having a tough time breaking out of their slump. That's not the case for Jesper. Even if he is slumping, it's just for a few games. He breaks out of it rather quickly, and you never know. He could explode for a 3-point night. I think Jesper has grown so much as a player, and I'm glad that he is with the Devils, but we did receive some bad news about Jesper not too long ago. It was revealed that he got shoulder surgery, but he will be good to go come training camp. But it does lead to a bigger discussion, which is, what is it with the Devils and their injury history, particularly with their shoulders? Should we actually be concerned with Jesper's shoulder? Here's my take on it. We kind of had a feeling that something was a little off, because during exit interviews, he was asked about the possibility of participating in Worlds with Team Sweden. And he said that he had to talk to some doctors and also consult with the front office and see, like, would he medically be good to go? At first, I just thought, okay, he might be dealing with something minor. But once we got the official word that he's going to need shoulder surgery, I was like, wow. I did not even know, because Jesper, I guess, was playing through injury. Nobody was aware. Now, Tom Fitzgerald clarified during his respective interview that it was something that you can play through, but at the end of the day, Jesper and his team just felt as though it was best case scenario to get surgery, take care of it, and hopefully he's good to go come training camp. Now, my big thing is, this is not just for Jesper. This is for the Devils in general. We can't keep using the excuse saying, like, oh, injuries are a part of the game and they'll be good to go come next year, because I'm tired of that narrative. Something does have to change, but I talked about it when I was breaking down Fitzgerald's exit interview. When it comes to injuries, it's just so complex. You can't have one concrete solution. Like, is it just a matter of getting stronger? No, I don't think that's the case, because I think that every Devils player wants to get better, but I'm just like, there's got to be a way to cut down on the injuries a little bit more, because if we're looking at players that have received some sort of surgery the last few years, Jack Hughes, now Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer had surgery at around this time last year, Dougie Hamilton, Jonas Siegenthaler, you name it. It's just a little concerning that some of the Devils' key assets continue to get surgery. My thing is, I really hope the Devils find some sort of way to cut down on the injuries a little bit as humanly possible. I wish I had a solution, but I really don't know. I'm stumped, because injuries are just a part of the game and sometimes they're unpredictable. But we're just going to have to wait and see how Jesper performs. And he might get off to a slow start next year. I don't really know. But I think a lot of people forgot that Timo got surgery at the end of the season last year. No one really talked about it going into this season. So I expect a similar thing for Jesper Bratt. But if he does get off to a slow start, there's your answer. Maybe he's still trying to get back to full strength. That's why you have the preseason. That's why you have training camp. So we're just going to have to wait until fall rolls around and see what happens with Jesper from there. Similar to what I said in the first segment, I'm really excited to see where Jesper Bratt takes his game, because not only was he good from an offensive standpoint, but defensively, I think he did a pretty decent job. Some of the points that were generated because of his defense, according to his defensive point share rating, like I said, 2.4, ninth on the team. So we'll see what happens, but I think Jesper continues to grow in more ways than one, and maybe he will become the first Devils player to reach 100 points in a single season. Okay, let's talk about Jesper Bratt's playoff performance from not only this season, but seasons prior. I asked him about his impact for this particular season during exit interviews. Here's what he had to tell me.
From a personal standpoint, how would you assess your playoff run this year compared to a couple seasons ago, like in terms of producing points and things like that?
No, I think for sure I was more ready this year. I think that I embraced playing against the best players every time I was on the ice. Obviously, it's a little bit of a different game not playing with Jack. I mean, he was a player that we could have really used. It's like Nico said before. It's a player that you really can't just replace. So but I think overall, I think that I took my game to a better level. I think that I was a lot better playoff player this year than last time we were around, and I expect myself to just get better too.
Okay. This seems like to be the biggest gripe when it comes to Jesper Bratt, which is people say that he's a good regular season performer, but when it comes to the playoffs, he takes a couple steps backwards. Let me just say, I don't think that's just the case for Jesper. I think that's the case for a lot of players, not just on the Devils, but the reality of it is that the playoffs are a different animal. That's why the championship teams are separated from the teams that just squeak their way into the playoffs. But digressing a little bit, in 5 playoff games this season, Jesper had 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. He had a plus-minus rating of -5. He had 1 even strength goal and nothing on the power play, but the Devils weren't generating anything on their power play. He had 5 blocks, 6 hits. Going back a couple seasons, he had 12 playoff appearances. He had 6 points, 1 goal, 5 assists, plus-minus rating of -3, 6 blocks, 12 hits. Now, is this fair to make Jesper sort of like the poster child for the Devils, couple steps backwards in the playoffs? No, I don't think so, and here's why. This playoff run for the Devils, it didn't matter if Jesper Bratt had a few more points. The Devils were not going to win against the Hurricanes. They were completely depleted. They were missing a good chunk of their blue line, like Luke Hughes, Brendan Dillon, Jonathan Kovacevic. They had to rely on players like Brian Dumoulin, Dougie Hamilton, Jonas Siegenthaler, both of which were coming back from major injuries. So I don't think the Devils were set up for success in this particular playoff run. It didn't even matter. But going back a couple seasons ago, yeah, Jesper didn't have his best performance during the 2023 playoff run, but a lot of other players didn't really have their best showing. Like, let's go back to the first round against the Rangers. How did the Devils beat the Rangers in 7? How did they erase that 2-0 deficit? It was honestly the role players that elevated their games, like Andre Palat, Eric Haula, an unlikely hero like Akira Schmid. That's why we love the playoffs. Jack Hughes, he started to get it going as the playoffs waned on, but he got off to a slow start. Dougie Hamilton, he got off to a slow start as well, but he did have a big moment in game 3. Nico Hischier got off to a slow start. I don't think that's a fair thing to put on Jesper's shoulders, because I don't think Jesper was shut down in this year's playoffs. I think he did everything he potentially could do. The problem was the Devils just weren't really set up for success. So my thing is that I think Jesper is a good player. I don't know why people want to push him out the door in these trade packages. First and foremost, he has a no movement clause. He will leave when he wants to leave, but it's just like, when looking at the Devils, I guess, big three, if you want to call it, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, it seems like Jesper Bratt is the ugly duckling. It seems like he is the odd man out. Like, people always bring his name into trade packages when the Devils could potentially get a big name player. It's never Nico, which I can understand, because I think there would be a riot at the Prudential Center if Nico is ever traded away or if he ever left the Devils. Jack Hughes, he's a star player, but Jesper Bratt, it's just like, come on now. He's not like a few steps back from Nico or Jack. If anything, like he does contribute a lot, because like I said, he appears in most, if not all, the games, and he produces well. Why is he the odd man out when talking about the core players? Can the Devils win a championship with this core? We're just going to have to wait and see. Fitzy definitely has some more work to do come the offseason, and I think the big thing is adding more scoring depth. Maybe the Devils will make a splashy move. We'll just have to wait and see, but I don't expect Jesper to be going anywhere. He's locked up for the next few years. He has a no movement clause. So there you have it. I would say Jesper has been one of the Devils' best players the past couple years. In fact, you can make an argument and say that he was the very best player on the Devils, because he's always available. He's always producing points. He grows his game in more ways than one. He plays a similar style like Jack Hughes. So we'll just wait and see how the Devils go about the offseason and things like that. But I don't think anyone needs me to say this. Jesper is safe, and he's really good. I don't understand the criticism that some people have about him. I really don't. But that's just my opinion on the matter. So final verdict, Jesper had a really good year, and I was rather impressed, and hopefully he recovers well from his shoulder surgery, and I'm glad that he didn't try to push the envelope and participate in Worlds. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the best player in the NHL, Jesper Bratt? What did you think of his growth from not just this season, but the prior few seasons? I think he's a fan favorite. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.